Good morning and welcome to Analytics Masterclass session 4 of 8. And today we're going to be discussing creating and managing dashboards. You're all welcome to send in chats as questions during the session. You don't need to wait until the end or till breaks within subparts of the session. You can send in your questions whenever you'd like. Before we get into the creating and managing dashboards, let's just go through some minor administrative details. I'm here on the Ex Libris YouTube channel. You can come into YouTube and just search for Ex Libris or Ex Libris Limited. I will send everybody the link in any case. To all attendees, you now have the link to the Ex Libris YouTube channel. And on the Ex Libris YouTube channel, here you can do a search, for example, by Analytics Masterclass. And all recordings have been put into one playlist. You've got Analytics Masterclass 1 of 8, 2 of 8, 3 of 8. Later on, we'll have 4 of 8. And so you can come in here and see all of the previous recordings. And like I mentioned, they're all inside a playlist. Let's just get rid of that ad. Okay. So they're all in a playlist and you can see them all, and you can also get them just by searching by Analytics Masterclass. Okay, so that's searching for previous recordings, accessing previous recordings. You can also get those previous recordings and register for future sessions on the Analytics Masterclass Fall 2021 official page. And I will send this as well to everybody in the chat, so you'll have it. Those of you watching the recording on YouTube, the links to this Analytics Masterclass page will be in the description of the YouTube. Obviously, in the description of the YouTube, we're not going to have a link to the YouTube video because you're already in the video. But we will have a link to this Analytics Masterclass page. This Analytics Masterclass page not only has the recordings. Here's the links to the recordings, and it also has the material that we're using, the supporting material that is used in each class. And the classes that have not yet begun, such as next week on the 17th of November, you've got registration information as well. Okay, so that covers our administrative information. And without further ado, let's begin here. During this session, we will show how to create a new analytics dashboard from scratch, showing each of the stages in detail, and time permitting, we will also edit an existing default dashboard. So let's jump right in. These 3 presentations here, I've already downloaded locally, and I've already got it right here. So this is the creating a new dashboard from scratch. And let's do it. What we're going to do is create a folder in Alma, in Alma Analytics with 3 subdirectories, reports, prompts, and dashboards. That's the standard way to do it. And let's just start creating the report. We're going to be looking briefly along the way at this dashboard. At this presentation. Now, first of all, why do we want a dashboard? Let's take a look at an existing dashboard just so we can see why would we even want a dashboard. So I'm going to go into analytics. And what is the advantage of a dashboard? The primary advantage of a dashboard is, let me just open this up and wake up the Alma. The primary advantage of a dashboard is you have all of the reports together. You don't need to close one report, open another one, close again, open another one. They're all together in one entity, which is the dashboard, and the user merely needs to switch tabs within the dashboard. So let's take a look. Before we create a dashboard, we want to define what is a dashboard and why would we want one in the first place. So let's take a look. For example, Alma Acquisitions dashboards. These are our default dashboards. And there's one here called the acquisitions dashboard. In a moment, we're going to create our own, but let's first see what we're talking about here. So we have, for example, a report here called expenditures annual trend. And then we have a report here under classifications, which is called expenditures per classifications. And then we have another one called vendors. And the reason it's better or easier for a user like I'm doing right now to go between these three tabs in a dashboard is because here I don't need to go close one report, open another report, and then again close a report, and then again open a report. Everything is together. Further, if I apply a prompt, it's possible to make a prompt work across all of the dashboard. It's possible. Sometimes it's not desired, sometimes it is. So here, for example, I've changed this to fiscal year 2020. Now I go to another tab and I still have the fiscal year description filtered at fiscal year 2020. I don't need to keep redoing the filter. So everything is together in one place. I don't need to close and open the reports. And I have one prompt, which is covering all of the reports all the time. If I wasn't using a dashboard in this case, I would need to come to a folder which contains all of the reports, which we happen to have here under reports. And I would need to open one report, do my filter, close it, open another report, do my filter, close it, etc., etc. A lot easier to have it all on one dashboard. So that's what a dashboard is, and that's why the dashboard is useful. Are there any questions on that before we actually jump right in and start making a dashboard? No questions from anybody. Okay, so let's jump right in and start making a dashboard. So typically when we make a dashboard, we create a folder, and under the folder we'll have three tabs. Three folders, one called dashboard, one called prompts, and one called reports. On a technical level, that's not mandatory. You can put everything in one place. Or you can even put your reports in scattered places. They're not all in one reports directory. This three-level subfolder method is the most organized. It's easy to handle. It's easy to update. It's easy to maintain. You need to keep in mind that 2 years later, somebody else might come along and want to edit your dashboard. You don't want it to be a mess. Kind of like someone writing code for a software. You have to think in the future. This has to be maintained. You want to keep it in an organized way, so in the future, everyone will know how it's built and how it can be edited if necessary. And that's along all of them. If I go to the analytics objects, if I go to the usage tracking, dashboards, reports, prompts, sometimes there might not be prompts. For example, in the analytics objects, there are no prompts. So let's create our own. And let's make a new folder somewhere. And let's call our folder, we'll say create our new folder, and let's call this the AMC, which stands for Analytics Masterclass folder. And underneath it, we'll make three subfolders: the reports, the prompts, and the dashboards. So I'm up here on the top left. That's where we can create a new folder. So we got reports, and then we've got prompts, and then we've got dashboards. Now I'm calling it dashboards in plural, even if I'm only going to have one dashboard. because later on, when we build an analytics object, which is one of the future sessions, it's important that it's called dashboards in plural and not dashboard. And in any case, it's good to call it plural because in the future, you may want to put another dashboard in there, even if now you only have one. Okay, so now we've got our 3 folders. And now we're going to create a couple of reports and put them in the reports folder so that later on we can start putting them in a dashboard. And of course, I'm just calling it AMC folder because I want to make sure we know this is the one from the Analytics Masterclass, but typically you'd call it circulation, fulfillment, acquisitions, whatever. Okay, let's make sure here we're following everything we're doing so far, and then we'll get back into the into building the dashboard. So we said it's useful because it's bringing together several reports. Typically, they all deal with the same topic. Typically, we wouldn't have a dashboard that has number of loans in the last year, and then another one stating which APIs have run, and another one stating something from benchmark analytics. Typically, they all go together. Although I could have number of loans and then number of loans created from an API, but typically we've got them all some type of similar topic. Something brings them together. As far as the prompt goes, there's a separate presentation, which we're going to look at also for creating the prompt in the dashboard. Okay, then we said we're going to make the 3 folders. Here's the 3 folders. And we're going to make these reports. These are pretty basic reports. Let's make them and throw them in there. So I'll say create analysis. And we'll make that in the fulfillment subject area. We're not going to overly focus now on how we make reports. Our purpose now is how to get these reports into a dashboard. So I'm going to save this one before I even put anything in it. So we're going to save that here under the AMC folder, the Analytics Masterclass. We're going to put it in the reports. And we'll call that Most Loaned LC Classifications Group 1. Let's go get the LC classification Group 1. Let's go get the number of loans. Not in-house. I usually like to get the not in-house. Group 1 has something called unknown. We don't want the unknown. That's in case the holding record does not have a LC classification. Let's sort this ascending. And no, we want to descending, but that's all right. We'll fix it in a moment. So now we've got the number of loans according to LC classification. Pretty basic report. Okay. Oh, I said equals unknown. I meant to say is not unknown. Did someone tell me that in the chat? Nope. Okay, so we want to say group 1 is not equal to unknown. And while we're at it, let's limit this a bit. Let's say sort descending. And no, let's not limit it. Let's say number of loans filter is in top 10. Okay. So now we've got the top 10 number of loans by LC Group 1 with the winner being, let's see who's the winner. Winner is commerce, followed by physiology. Okay. So we've got our first basic report. Let's save that. Let's make another one now. We're following exactly like this. Most loaned titles. Okay. So let's save this already as most loaned titles. Make sure I saved this already. Okay, and we'll say save as most loaned titles. Just basic reports, just for our purposes of making a dashboard. So inside the group 1, I'm just going to change the group 1 to title. So I'll come in here and say edit formula, and instead of LC classifications group 1, I'm going to replace that with bibliographic details title. MNOPQRST for title. There we are. And save that. Let's go see what we got. This is going to be the most loan title. We didn't filter this by anything. Most loan title ever. Anatomy and Physiology with a grand total of 11,577 loans. Okay, so this is most loan titles. We'll save that. Now, I know I could have had these all ready to go at the beginning and save some time, but I want to show the whole process start to finish so it doesn't look like something was already ready, and that's why it all works. Most returned overdue items. Wow. Okay, so here we're going to have to make a new report. So let's say create analysis. We could just change this one around, but hey, let's change it around. What did we call this? Most returned overdue. Okay. Most returned overdue items. Okay. So if it's returned overdue, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. And we don't need that. Okay, so if it's returned overdue, we already saw in a previous session, returned due days. That's where we can see if it's returned late. Let's get the loan date just so we can see exactly what's happening here. Loan date and due date. And return date. We could actually do this a couple of ways. We could say return date is greater than due date, greater than, or we could just get the return due days. So let's do loan date just so we get something. Loan date is greater than, just so we're not getting everything in the system. Let's get ones returned greater than a month ago. What are we now? November? We'll say September even. And let's throw in the barcode. We need something unique per item. So that we're going to take from the loan details. Okay, let's see what we got. Just so we got some examples here, then we'll change it around a little bit and get the overdues. Meanwhile, I think I'll save it. Let's go get the official name we gave it. Most returned overdue items. So these are items which are returned overdue the most, which could be an indicator. Maybe we need more items and then we can make the loan period longer. Maybe we need to change our terms of use. Could be many things. Okay. Most returned overdue items. So let's just see an example here. Returned overdue days is 0 because this is both 9, 10. Let's do this ascending and descending. Okay, so this was due on September 14th, and it was returned 11/2/2021. So that means it was returned overdue. The overdue, so anything overdue has return days in the plus. Someone asked where I got the barcode from. The barcode is in the loan details, barcode. That's where I got it from, but I searched for it here instead of going through the whole list. But if I didn't want to search for it, it's in loan details, barcode. Okay, so when the return due days is in the positive, that means it's overdue. And we can see that here. Due date is September, return is November. And if I were to sort this ascending, I'll see those returned on time will be 0. But let's just take a look there. Ascending, Okay, so this is returned early, 390 days early. It was due in December. It was returned October. Okay, so these are anything in a negative was returned early. Here it was due in December, returned in September, 84 days. Okay, so we'll say here, first of all, just to get ones that are overdue, we'll say that the return due days filter is greater than 0. So now we have all the overdues. And then we want the return due days filter is in the top 10. Is in top 10. Now, there's two ways. The person who asked me about the barcode, I took the barcode here from the from the loan. I could also take it from the item, because then let's do it from the item and see. Because now I'm doing it not the top 10 loans, which were the latest, but rather the top 10 items which repeatedly were loaned. Okay. So let's now do in the top 10. These are all 1 because it's 1 day overdue. This was due January 22nd, returned January 23rd, due December 12th, returned December 13th. So now we want the return due days the highest. And we no longer need to include the loan date, due date, and return date. We did that just to see that it's working. So now we've just got the barcode, and the return due days filter is in top 10. So these are going to be the items which were most returned overdue. Wow, 1,614 days. Let's throw in the title while we're there. So that we're going to get from the bibliographic details. Okay. So now we've got our 3 reports. We don't want to overly focus on building the reports. Maybe we spent a little too much time building that, but it was kind of fun. So let's save this and we're all set. So now we have our 3 reports. We're ready to continue. And here we have, just like in our real case, here in the PowerPoint, we called the folder Physical Item Loans. We called it the AMC folder. AMC, I think, is also actually a branch of movie theaters, if I'm not mistaken. American Movie Classics or something. Okay. So the dashboards and the prompts folders are currently empty. Let's go take a look at what we've got. I'm going to go to the catalog here. Okay, so we've got the AMC folder, dashboards is empty, prompts is empty, reports has the 3 reports. Now we're going to create the dashboard. Create the dashboard via new dashboard, save it in the dashboards folder, call it whatever. Okay, let's call it this. Now, I'm just going to give a little brief comment here. When we create the dashboard now, and we save it in the folder called AMC folder dashboards, we're going to get a message, something to the effect of it's not going to include on your dashboards report or something like that. That's fine, because the built-in Oracle Business Intelligence, this tool which we're looking at now, this interface, has a method to make the dashboards appear automatically under this My Dashboards kind of thing. And we're not using that functionality. We're using an Alma functionality that later we can make this into an analytics object, so that from here within Alma, we'll be able to run a dashboard. So we're going to get a little message. We're going to ignore it. So let's create the dashboard now. So it's create. Until now, we've done create analysis in all of the previous sessions of this analytics masterclass. And now we're going to do create dashboard. And we'll call it physical item loans dashboard. Actually, I'm going to call it the AMC dashboard, the Analytics Masterclass dashboard. Now the location. Let's go browse the catalog and let's save it in our AMC folder. Here it is. It's bringing me by default to where I was. AMC folder dashboards. Okay. Okay, that's the menu that I stated that we're gonna get the message. It's not going to appear in the dashboards menu. That's the menu I showed you a moment ago. Fine. Thanks for letting me know. It's okay. Now, we can add the content now or add the content later. Typically, I do add the content now. I'm going to do add content later just so we can show the whole structure of how it's working. So now I've created the dashboard. Here it is. And now we'll edit the dashboard. If I had said add content now, it would have automatically opened it in edit form. But here we are, AMC folder, dashboards, the AMC dashboard. Edit. Right now, it's just an empty dashboard. It's going to have page 1, and that's it. So now we're going to make 3 tabs. Each tab will have one of those reports we made. We're now in the in-depth part of creating a dashboard. So here's where we need to pay attention. So we have page 1. By default, it already gives us a tab called page 1. We're going to put here where it says drop content here, we're going to put in now one of those reports. We could actually put all 3 of them in one tab. Sometimes one dashboard tab has several reports. So under shared folders on the bottom is the catalog. The same catalog I get when I click the catalog up on top. And we're going to navigate to our AMC folder so that we can drag everything in there. So here's the AMC folder. Here's the reports of the AMC folder. And now we're going to put them in. So this is the most loaned LC classifications group 1. We're going to rename this page 1 afterwards. Now we're going to add another tab and put in most loan titles. So we create a tab here, add dashboard page. It's actually called a page, excuse me. I've been calling it a tab. We're going to add a dashboard page. There's an option to add a sub-page to the dashboards. We're not going to talk about that today. Because even though an hour and a half is a good amount of time, it's not enough to cover every little thing. So add dashboard page. Now I didn't save this yet, so he's going to ask me, or she's going to ask me if I want to save. Add dashboard page, page name, I'll call it most loaned titles. There are unsaved changes. Do I want to save them? Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to drag here. You see we got a new tab, most loaned titles. I'm going to drag her right in. Save it this time so she won't ask me if I want to save. Now we'll add another page, add dashboard page, and we're going to add this most returned overdue items. So we're going to add a page, most returned overdue. And we'll drag that one in too. Save. Now let's rename page 1. So someone asks exactly what I'm going to do now, right on target. Someone says, I'm going to open this up in a Word document. And you can ask anything you want, everybody. I purposely never mentioned who asked it, so you won't feel inhibited or embarrassed or whatever. You can ask anything you want or make any kind of comment you want. We're all open here. Okay, so this is what I always get a default right to left justification in my Word. There we go. So someone asks, is it possible to change the dashboard page name after you created it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to change this one that says page 1. We're going to call that one most loaned LC classifications or by LC classifications. So We're going to go here to Tools. And in Tools, we'll go to Dashboard Properties. There's actually two ways to do it, now that I think about it. And down here, here's the page 1. And I can click here and say Rename. And now I'll call it whatever. So now it's called whatever. And it's called whatever here. I'm going to save this. So now I've called that one whatever. But there's another way to change it. I'm going to go to the catalog. I'm going to get out of the dashboard editing. And now in the tree structure here where we have the AMC folder and the AMC dashboard, under dashboard, now if I do expand, I have the 3 pages. And I can also rename here. And instead of calling it whatever, I'll call it most loaned LC groups. Okay. And just to keep them good, I see this is all capitalized. This is all capitalized. I'll do that on this one too. So here I'm changing it from outside of the dashboard, from the directory structure, instead of from within inside the dashboard. Overdue. Great. Oh, interesting. He doesn't let me rename it. He must, on his own, most returned overdue. I'll add the word items. He must normalize it to all lowercase. Okay, so now we have most returned overdue items. Now let's open the dashboard. So I'm back at the dashboard. We're going to open it. It's going to be a fully working dashboard now. It's very basic, but we've created a dashboard at this stage. So now we've got most loan titles. Then we've got another tab, most returned overdue items. And then we've got another one, most loaned LC groups. Very, very basic, but we've created a dashboard. It took us 35 minutes. We made 3 reports. We created a dashboard. In the dashboard, we made 3 pages. And in each page, we added one report. There's 2 ways to continue editing a dashboard. This is our basic dashboard. I can come right here and click edit and continue editing. Maybe I want to add a prompt. Maybe I want to put in some text, etc. Another way to, now I'm in the edit mode. Another way that I can edit the dashboard is to click open and then say edit dashboard. Now it's as if I went from catalog and did the edit. Now, a little comment here. If you notice on this dashboard, on the top left of each section, there's a little triangle, this one here, which allows to collapse it. Usually people don't want that. It's just kind of an extra triangle. If I have a lot of reports, I might want it. If I have a lot of reports on the same dashboard. However, if I want to get rid of that, I'm going to edit the dashboard. When I dragged in the report before, it actually put it inside a section. This is a section, and this is a column. And inside these, I'm going in the section, there's by default, it makes it collapsible. I just unchecked the collapsible. I'm going to do that. I'll leave it so we can compare. Now I'm going to run it. I'm clicking the run here, which is like opening it. Now I don't have that little triangle here because it's not collapsible, but I didn't change the others, so it's still collapsible. In the most loan titles, let's put another one here so we see how it works, putting things next to each other. So most loan titles, let's get most requested titles. One way of editing, if I want to edit this report and save it as a new name, one way is I can come out from here, go back into the catalog, and edit the report. Let's go to the report. I can edit it here and then save as. Another way, which is easier when there's a lot of reports, because then you don't have to go start looking for it, is what we're going to do right now. I'll edit the dashboard. Here I'm clicking the cog wheel on the top right and then edit dashboard. And then from here, we'll see I can edit the analysis. I can directly edit this report. Right here, I'll say edit analysis. So I don't need to get out, go find the report, and then edit it. I can do it right there from editing the dashboard. And let's change this around a bit. And instead of number of loans, let's get a different measure. Let's say we want number of renewals. So I'm just going to replace it underneath loan. I'll say renewals. Boom. And okay. Same thing here. I don't want loans not in houses in the top 10. I'll get rid of that and I'll say renewals filter is in the top 10. Is in top 10. Save this, save as. And call this most renewed titles. I'm so confident it works, I'm not even going to switch to the results tab. Let's go add it to the dashboard. So back to the dashboard. We're going to make 2 columns now and edit. Now, sometimes I'm working on a small laptop right now. Sometimes when you start editing dashboards, you need to do Control minus or Control plus to be able to see everything on the screen here. But what I want to do is, you see by default, it added a column. I'm going to make another column on the other side. I'm going to drag this column to right here all the way on the right. And I don't see that column there. It put it down below here. That's here. That's what I was talking about, the resolution. If I do Control minus a couple of times, there it is. It's eventually you get it. But oh, there it is. Now I have column 2 over here. So sometimes you might have to play around, but even if it's down below, as long as you see that it says column 2, that's the main point. Okay, so let's now put our other report, our new report, into column 2. So we'll navigate there to the AMC folder. I'm on the bottom left here, AMC folder, reports, most renewed. I'm dragging that now to this column. Save, run. There we go. So now we have the most loan titles on the left, most renewed titles on the right. Let's do 2 things. Let's rename this and let's get rid of that this thing. See, now they're not even. Edit the dashboard, then we're going to stop for questions. Edit the dashboard. So here we'll say we don't want it collapsible. We want to rename that. So we'll save this and go to dashboard properties. And we'll call this, I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to click here where it says rename. And we'll call this most loaned and renewed titles. Boom. Most loaned and renewed titles. By the way, I can also change the order here. I can take this and move it up, move it down. I can say I want most LC groups in the middle or at the bottom, whatever. Okay. And let's run that again. Stay on page. I didn't save it. He's smart for letting me know. And run. So someone asked a question. Okay, interesting question. Somebody says, what's the difference in putting two sections side by side or two columns side by side? Two columns side by side makes the, what would I call it? The adjustment nicer. So it sizes them up nicer. We can do an example right now. We'll make two sections instead of two. What's going on here? Everything's been working so nicely. We'll do a comparison right now. Oh no. Make sure we're still alive here. Excuse me. To the question that was asked, what's the difference between putting two columns next to each other and two sections next to each other? It's how it lays it out. Once we get back in, we're going to do an example here and see. Sometimes one report, for example, might have a graph and a table, and it just makes them look a lot nicer. We might not even have that situation with this one because it's tables. So let's see an example. We'll take one of our reports. Let's go to the AMC. Okay, reports. Let's take the most loans classifications group 1. And actually, most loaned and renewed is what we had. Two of them that are on the same page. Okay. I'm going to open the dashboard. So for example, I'm going to take this most loan titles, edit. I'm going to add a graph here just so we can see what's going to happen. And we'll say add a graph, a bar graph, recommended subtype. Okay. Great. And I'll throw that over here. Save. Okay. So now my first tab has two columns. The most loan titles, most renewed titles, and they're both in columns. We'll see if this example will show the difference. Now I'm going to edit this dashboard and we'll add another tab, this time with sections for them both. Add a dashboard page. I'm going to call this most loaned and renewed titles in two sections. Okay, now we're going to drag the first one in and AMC folder and reports, and we had most loan titles. Okay, so it automatically put it there in a column. Now I'm going to do two sections. So I'm going to add a section on the left. I'm taking section. I really can't stick a section right there, as you can see. I can take this and put it right here, and now it's all in the same section, but that wasn't your question. Let's leave it here to see that. First, we'll put them both in the same section, then we'll put them in separate sections. So now we've got two reports right next to each other in the same section, and it looks like this. As opposed to when they were in two columns, we're going to switch to the first tab. I think this is a little more organized, personally. You've got, you can see them separated here. I'm going now, they're in the same section. Okay, now we'll do it in separate sections like your original question. Edit dashboard. And I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to add another section wherever I can and put it in AMC folder, reports, and we had most renewed. Run. Okay, so now we see what the difference is. Here, when they're in separate sections, it's coming like this because it's not another column. It's another section in the same column. So you can either drag it into the same section or put it in another column. Right now, the user doesn't have to scroll down. He sees it all together. It's really the size of the reports, what you want the user to see. Do you want the user to have to move? I think this is the nicest way. Everything's on one screen. You can see it clearly separated. It's got this little square here. I see another chat come in. Does the dashboard have a hyperlink feature for users to click to open the individual record, i.e. click on the first record in the most renewed title? There is, in some cases, only in some cases, what's called a drill down. I'm just going to put the person's question here. Does the dashboard have a hyperlink feature for users to click and open the individual record? I click on the first record in the most renewed title. There is ways to link in a limited manner. I assume you're saying you want to get additional information on that title, that you click that title and you get additional information. You can't just do it for any field. It has to be certain fields, and I just want to show something here as an example. I'm going to go to catalog, and we did that in one of the out-of-the-box dashboards. It's actually on the report level it's done, not in the dashboard. Under usage via counter reports, under dashboards, it might be in this one. Okay. Now this question's coming in. That's good. I like when this question's coming in because it means people are interested. While we're waiting for the other one to load, is it possible to link directly to a dashboard or reports in a dashboard, easy to share with colleagues who do not work a lot in Alma? Yes, and we will do that on. So we're going to be discussing that on this date here. That's going to be in session 7, December 9th. Yes, we will do that on session 7, December 9. Okay, let's go back to the original question. Let's get the, okay. So here, for example, person who asked this question, we're not going to discuss it during this session. The person who asked, does the dashboard have a hyperlink feature for users to click and open the individual records? So yes, here's an example. This one is from files which were uploaded in the monthly usage data. And if you click one of these files, it takes a moment or two, it'll bring us to the information about that specific file. So yes, and we'll talk about it. We're not going to discuss it today. Okay, that's still linking apparently. It's a heavy feature. No one likes. Oh, view file details. There it is. It's a heavy feature. Not from the Alma side. Not the way it was designed by Alma. It's a feature. A lot of what we're doing here is pop-up block too. So I got to go into my browser now and unblock my pop-ups. If you noticed, I had that pop-up block. So let me do always allow from here. Okay. There we go. Okay. So that's an example. Yes, you can have a hyperlink feature. I clicked in one report and it brought me directly to the file information of that. It is possible, only for certain fields, and you can play around. This is a nice example if you want to look at this one and see how it was done. It's the monthly usage data report. It's the monthly, it's under, I'm going to give you the full path because somebody else says, the report you are showing now, is it available? Oh, yes, it's available. It's an out-of-the-box report. So I'm going to send to everybody the report I showed with the hyperlink is in dashboard called monthly usage data. And it is in directory. Boom. Okay. So everybody's got it. Let's continue. So in summary, then we're going to go look at the PowerPoint and continue on. We kind of got sidetracked there, so let's refocus back to our homemade dashboard. What did we do? We created 3 reports. Then we created a dashboard and put 1 report in each tab. Then we made a 4th report and added it to one of the tabs that already had a report. Then for comparative purposes, we added another tab to see what happens if we add 2 reports in the same column or 2 reports in a different section of the same column, the same section, different section, just for comparative purposes. I'm going to remove this last tab. And there's 2 ways to remove a tab, just like we saw that there were 2 ways to rename a tab, actually a page, I should say. One way is to come here in the dashboard, expand it, and just delete one of these. Delete, and then it's gone. Another way is to edit the dashboard. Edit, and here do dashboard properties, and take that one and delete this way. There's a delete button. I selected the page and now delete. Yes. So now we're back to our basic dashboard. We don't have prompts. We don't have any added information in there. Let's just continue, make sure we covered everything. We navigated to the dashboard and clicked it. We saw that we had one page there. We dragged the reports in, just like here. We dragged the reports and then we clicked Add Dashboard Page. We gave it a name. Again, we dragged something in, created another page, dragged something in, and we had 3 tabs. Then we wanted to rename the first one, which by default was page 1. And we did the rename this way. We said that we could have also done it from expanding the dashboard in the catalog. Of course, we saved, and then we ran it. We clicked open, and we see the dashboard. Okay, now we don't have prompts yet. We also don't have any extra information. So I'm going to close this one. And on this page, the second one that we've got listed for today is how to create a dashboard prompt. For example, maybe we want to filter this by loan year, for example. So how to create the dashboard prompt. Or maybe we want to do it by library, anything. And a prompt in general can go on the level of the report or on the level of the dashboard. It's nicer to do on the level of the dashboard because then the user doesn't have to reset it every time he switches or she switches from page to page. Let's create it. Create dashboard prompt. Catalog. So we're going to save it. If you recall at the beginning, we made these 3 folders: dashboards, prompts, and reports. Now we're going to create a prompt and save it in this folder called prompts. So it's create dashboard prompt. And just before I do that, just to avoid confusion, I could take this most loan titles here and create a prompt inside this report just for this report. That's not what we're doing. I could come here to prompts and say, create prompt. And then that would be in the report. Let's do it, in fact. I'm going to say more columns, and I'm going to take the loan date year. Fine. We're not going to get too crazy on it. Save. So now I have inside this report a prompt. Which one did I just change? If I say now open, I get a prompt for this report. That's not what we're doing now. Then I can say one only 2019, for example, but we're going to do one for the entire dashboard. So I'm going to get rid of that prompt in here. I just wanted to differentiate that there's 2 kinds of prompts, one on the level of the report, one on the level of the dashboard. We're going to do the one on the level of the dashboard. So I'm going to get rid of that one that I just made here. We don't want to have to go into all 4 reports and start creating a separate prompt in each one and then have the user have to fill it in each time. We'll do it once on the level of the dashboard. The user will fill it in once. Okay. So again, create dashboard prompt. Now we need to fulfill a subject area for it because the prompt is going to work on a certain field, such as the loan year. So we'll get it in the fulfillment subject area because all of our reports in this dashboard are in fulfillment. And we're going to add a prompt. And we're going to take it, let's take it from the loan year. Loan year. Okay, and then there's various ways we can say is equal to, we can say is greater than, is less than. The user input, do we want him to have a choice list, a text box, check boxes, radio buttons? We're going to leave it like the default for now. Then there's other options here that we can play around with if we want. For example, we can make a default value. We can make the user have to fill it in. That's require user input. All different kinds of things. We can say default selection, specific values, and let's say it has to be 2020. So let me do that a little slower. You know what? Let's not do it. We'll go edit it afterwards. Okay, and okay. Because it still has that I'm going to make it again. New column prompt, loan year. Okay, I'm just going to leave all the defaults right now. We'll come back and play with it more later because we still have a lot to do and we get 25 minutes. Loan year. So we've created the dashboard for loan year. Now we're going to save it. And we'll go to the directory where we were, prompts, AMC folder, dashboard prompts. And I'm going to call this loan year prompt. Those of you who have been around in my sessions know I'm not the best speller. Okay, loan year prompt. Now, in order for this prompt to take effect, first of all, we have to put it inside the dashboard. And second of all, inside each of the reports, we need to call it, reference it. Let's do it step by step. First, I'm going to add it to the dashboard. It's not going to do anything yet because I'm not calling it in the reports, but let's see how we add it to the dashboard. Okay, so we're going to edit the dashboard. And in each of these, I'm going to add either another column, another section, something, or I can just drag it to the top and see what happens. But now I'm going to drag the prompt into here. So we're going to go back to our folder, the AMC folder, prompts, and I'm just going to drag it in somewhere. Let's make it a little nicer here. Let's put a column way up there, and let's go prompts. We can drag things around later, by the way, too. So now I've added it to the top of that one. Save. Then I'm going to come here and add it. By the way, the prompt doesn't have to be on the top. The prompt can be on the side, too. Here, I'm going to put it like that. Here, I'm going to add it as a section so we can see the difference. And then I'm going to put it here. I see that there were some questions that came in. Let me just finish this flow. So in the last two columns, I have it, in last two pages, I have it as a section on top, and in the first one, I have it as a column. Let's just see how it's going to look. Okay, here's the first one. Excuse me, here's the last one. Now it's not going to do anything right now. You can see it's 31,269 for the first one. And if I choose loan year 2016, apply, it doesn't do anything because we haven't called it yet from the report. So this is how it looks when it's added to a section. Oh, that's interesting the way I added it there. And here is where it's added as another column. Which do you think looks better? Let's take a little vote. This one here that I added it as a column, or this one here that I added as a section? In any case, column. Okay, good. In any case, I got to fix the second one. Okay, everybody seems to like the column, or at least the people whose chats I saw. So let's do this. Edit. So here we're all set. It's in a column. I'm going to come here to most returned overdue items. And I'll get rid of this. I'll add a column, adding a column. Then I'll come to our folder. Put it right in there. Most loaned groups. I'll get it rid of this section. Add a column. And put in the prompt. Okay. Now, it's still not working. It appears there we have all the infrastructure in place, but it doesn't do anything when I choose any year. Look at the numbers down below. 31,000, 29,000. Apply, doesn't do anything because we need to call it from the reports. Let me just see the chats. Oh, those are the people who answered. Someone says, what if a prompt, let me put that one out here. What am I looking for here? The word, okay. Someone asks, what if a prompt is already built in a report? Do I have to delete it or does it work also for and in the dashboard? It will work in the dashboard, but it's going to be very confusing for the end user. And after the user selects it, he's going to have to go out and back into the dashboard. It's not a desired method. Someone says, is it possible to, let's put it out here. Is it possible to filter after two different columns containing the same values with one dashboard prompt? No, one dashboard prompt cannot filter on two different values. In other words, I can't have one prompt which is filtering by loan year and loan fiscal year. I can have multiple prompts in a dashboard. Would it be practical if you have reports from different subject areas? Oh, if you have reports from different subject areas, you can put different prompts on the different pages. That's fine. Let's go on because I want to finish this full flow here. Sorry, we can't always get every question. Let's go on. So now, where are we? Now we've got everything ready. We just need to call these prompts from the report. So let's do that. Calling the prompts from the reports. So within each report, we're using the loan year. And maybe time permitting, we'll add a prompt in a report for the other person. Inside these reports, watch what we're going to do. We're going to add a filter of loan year, and the filter is going to be is prompted. How are we going to do that? Let's edit the report. Oh, we're already editing. So we'll go to the criteria tab. We're going to add a filter. One way to add a filter we saw last week or one of the weeks is from down here. Create a filter for the current subject area. We don't want title or loans. We're going to do more columns. We'll take loan date, loan year. And we'll say is prompted. That means take the filter from the prompt of the dashboard. So we've got that, save. Next. Most renewed titles, same thing. Now, keep in mind, it would have been faster if at the beginning I did that, but for learning purposes, I wanted to do everything in steps. So now again, more columns, loan date, loan year, okay, is prompted, okay, save. Two more. Most returned overdue items, edit. Criteria tab, add filter, loan year is prompted. Loan date, loan year is prompted. One more. Most loaned LC classifications, group 1. And add that. More columns. I see another question came in about its own prompt. We're going to do an example where a report has its own prompt, because that's already the second question on it. And okay, and is prompted. Okay, let's go see it work now. Save. Catalog. Let's open the dashboard. Okay, so now we have 11,577 is the total loans here. 917 is the loan here. If I filter this now by loan date 2018, 11,577, 917 apply. Now it has new numbers. I chose 2018 here. I switch to most returned overdue items. It's still keeping the same value that I already had. I move over here. Again, it's still keeping the same value I already had. I can switch it now to something else. Apply, and same thing. It's keeping it. It's going to change the numbers because now it's filtering by a different year, and it's going to keep it across. I want to start taking some of the questions because there's a lot of questions about the prompts if I have a prompt in the report. But before that, this person asks, if you put all the reports on the same page, can you use only one prompt working at 3 reports at the same time? Yes, that's what's happening, in fact, in the first tab. First tab has 2 reports, 1 prompt, and the same prompt is working on both reports. Now it's 2019, 196 for the top renewals, 1142 for the top loans. And if I say here 2018, it'll change. It's working on both of them. I could also include everything because inside the prompt, there was an option to also have select all. I could do the select all. I could make this all different ways. We saw that I could have radio buttons, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to focus now on a prompt inside a report, which I said is not recommended when you're running a dashboard. But at this stage, I feel like we covered a nice full flow from the beginning of the session today Well, we created 3 reports. Let's just focus on what we do before we start testing various ways of the prompts. We created 3 reports. We created a folder structure with dashboards, prompts, and reports. We created the dashboard. We created the prompt. We put the prompt inside the dashboard. Then we edited the reports to call the prompt. We made the loan year is prompted. Now, let's go make a little change to one of these reports, and we'll put the prompt inside the report, just so we can see what happens. And again, I'm saying it's not recommended, but people have been asking about it. So let's take this most returned items. And right now, if I open the most returned items, it doesn't do anything with a prompt. The only time it was going to work on that prompt where I said loan year is prompted, the only time it's going to look at that is when it's in the dashboard, because that's the only time there is that prompt to be prompted. But let's put a prompt inside. And let's say, for example, that we want a prompt here. I'm going to go to the prompts tab, and I'll add a prompt on the title, and I'll say operator contains any, and it'll be a text field, and I'll call it word from title. Okay, very basic prompt. Save. Okay, so that prompt is not going to work when I just go to the results. A prompt that is built in a report. We have a session on prompts I believe we have a session on prompts. Control F P R O M P T S. Yes, next session, creating and managing prompts and analytics. So we're going to go much more in depth on prompts next week. But let's continue. Sorry, here. So here, again, when I go to the results, it's not even looking at that prompt. A prompt in a report, which we'll talk about next week, works when I click open on it. So now if I say open, which one did I do? Most returned overdue. Open. Now title contains any. I'll call this, I'll say contains finance. And now all of these titles will have somewhere in it the word finance, 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 etc. So now I've got the prompt inside the report. Let's go see what's going to happen when we run that in the dashboard. And I'm not just playing around here. I want to get these and say, I'm going to put out the different questions right here in the Word. Here's one question about it. Here it is. Someone says, and this is exactly what we're doing. What if a prompt is already built in a report? Let's go take a look. The moment we've all been waiting for. Open this dashboard. Okay, so this is the regular one. I'm going to say I want 2018. Apply. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the most returned overdue items. So now it's already by 2018 because that's what I filled in here in the previous tab. And I also have my additional one, title contains anything. I'll say feminists, which will take feminist, feminism, feminists. That's the truncate. Someone asked about the truncate, but we'll talk more about that next week. So now it's taking the prompt that I put in the report, But now see what happened here. It jumped out of the dashboard. I'm no longer in the dashboard, as you see. I don't have the 3 tabs on top. I don't see the prompt of the 2018. I jumped out of the dashboard to get back in. I've got a little return down here, and now I'm back in. If I say, again, Zealand now, contains Zealand. Actually, it's not going to contain Zealand because I made it case sensitive. There's a way to make it case insensitive that we're going to do next week. So now, again, I'm using that prompt, so it's jumping me out. Not a good idea. It's not a nice experience for the user. You're better off making another prompt called word from title, putting it on the upper level of the dashboard like we did with the year. You can put it only in one tab. Every tab doesn't have to have the same prompts. It works. Technically, it's working, but it's not a nice user experience. Okay, so I'm going to fix that, and I want to answer another question that someone asked here. Let me just go find it. The person who asked if the user input to a prompt is text field, can you use truncation? We're going to talk about that next week. But as you saw here, when I say contains any, if I put in feminists, I got feminism, feminist, feminists. So it does get truncated. You don't put in the truncate inside. The user's not going to use an asterisk or a percent sign. This person I want to answer because I think we have time. We've only got 6 minutes, but I think we can squeeze it in. Someone asks, and we'll talk about this next week too, how can I filter a prompt so it doesn't show all the years? Wonderful. So let's go and do that. First of all, I want to fix that bad report. So I'm going to edit the dashboard. Edit the dashboard. And edit this analysis. And get rid of that prompt. I mean, you're welcome to put it in. It's my recommendation is don't mix them. Don't have a report with a prompt and a dashboard with a prompt. Okay, so now let's edit that prompt. So what the person says, so it doesn't show all years. Catalog. Here is our prompt. We're going to edit it. And when we edit it, the video, I thought the video was disabled. Hi, everybody. So what we'll do now, we're going to edit this one here, loan year. I double clicked it. All I did was double click. So last time we briefly opened this options, but we didn't do anything with it. So one of the options here is include all column values, which we didn't have, but it is another option. And then there's a way to say default selection specific values, because right now it's showing them all. Then I can click this plus here, and it'll show me the options as if I did a filter. And I can say here that I want, for example, 2014 to 2020. That's one way. I could also write an SQL, but we're going to get very in-depth with the prompts next week. We're going to have an hour and a half of just prompts. So now I've got just 2014 to 2020. Okay. Save. Run it. Dashboards open. So now it's order. Oh, you want, now it's giving the specific values. You, I assume, want that someone can still choose specific years, but only within a certain group. Well, that's possible too. Here you can also do it, by the way. This is giving a default. Okay, you can also do it. I don't think we're going to have enough time, but I'll give you a brief introduction, and next week we'll do it. Inside here, inside the prompt, I don't even know if I should get into it with 2 minutes. I'll show the brief introduction. Next week, we're going to show it in depth. The prompt, the edit, options. Instead of specific values, we can say SQL results and say, for example, let's do it next week. It's 9:29. Loan year is between, and then 2 different values, and those will be the options he can choose. I will say here, default selection. No, that's there's a lot of different ways to do it. We'll get it next week. I will just show this include all column values, which we didn't have last time. And let's run the dashboard now. So now there's something here, include all column values. That automatically selects them all, and then we're free to go. Okay. Well, we don't have time for any more questions, but thanks everyone for joining. I think this was a decent session. We were able to cover, I'm glad we made these sessions an hour and a half, by the way, with this masterclass. We had internally some differing opinions, whether it should be an hour and a half. An hour and a half on the one hand is a lot for people to keep their concentration. On the other hand, an hour is really not enough to get deep inside. So thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you next week, hopefully. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.